Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. I can see people coming into the chat. Hola, lovely to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining us today on what is going to be an incredible journey. So my name is Marilyn Devonish, and I'm going to be your host and your guide throughout this wonderful series. So we are looking at, in the first part of this series, and it's a two-part journey, and there are three parts to part one. We are going to be looking at the power of prayer, forgiveness, and gratitude. And for me, these are three of what I call the cornerstones of our entire life. They have shown up in ways that you would not even begin to imagine, and they are absolutely super powerful. Now, before we get started, for those of you who are just coming into the chat, good evening, Danielle, lovely to see you. Please make sure if you're listening in another language, please press the language channel at the bottom of your screen for the language of your choice. If you're an English speaker, it will be English, but bottom of the screen next to the chat, you'll see a button where you can select your language. So just make sure you've selected the right channel for you, because we do have a team of translators. And in terms of this journey and this exploration that we are going on today, gratitude has been a part of my daily life for the past 20 years. And it has taken and moved people from a place and a space where, in their own words, they are dragging themselves out of bed in the morning, having no sense of direction, no sense of motivation. And within 7 days, they are getting out of bed with a spring in their step. Within 14 days, they have a sense of clarity about exactly what it is they want to do. And within 21 days, so just 3 weeks, things start lining up and the universe is what I call rising up to meet them. I have a similar relationship with the power of forgiveness, and the talk you're going to be hearing first today from Professor Koenig is going to talk about this in a lot more detail. But I knew that for myself, lack of forgiveness was impacting both my physical and my mental and my emotional health, because all of these things are linked. And I know that for me, when I really started looking at forgiveness more deeply and understanding not just what it was and listening to the words, but understanding how to do it in practice, how to bring it into my daily life and how to bring it to life, I'm pretty sure that being able to forgive and let go of some of the things that had happened to me in my past was one of the keys to me still being here. Because at the age of 32, I actually contemplated leaving this earth and contemplated suicide, and learning about forgiveness and learning about letting go and learning about the impact it had on my physical health, never mind the person that I was holding the grudge against, that changed everything. So I really credit forgiveness for being one of the reasons why I am still here on this planet. And prayer is an interesting one. And I know when we talk about prayer, people often automatically think about religion. And we are going to, through this whole series, be unpacking some of those thoughts, some of those ideas. What does organized religion mean? How are these three ideas interconnected? And what impact will it have on your life? And just even the talk that you're going to hear first, some of the things that, and I just want to share with you just a couple of snippets, just to give you a flavor of what's coming. But we're going to be looking at the effect of prayer on your mental health. And in these times that we're going through now, this is so important and so key. We're also going to be looking at how the power of gratitude and being thankful and appreciative can impact your happiness, can impact your mindset, can impact your emotions. We're also going to be talking about how all of these concepts can help you to live a fuller, healthier, happier life. And not just talking about these concepts, we are going to take you on a journey of how do you actually put them into practice. What are the things that you can do? how can you implement them? How can you understand the concepts more deeply? So it's not just academic thought and a good idea, it actually resonates and makes change and transformation in your life in ways that you probably can't even imagine right this moment. So we have got a lot that we are going to be covering in part 1 of these series. There is also an opportunity in part 2, which starts, if you're watching this in real time, next week. But there's an opportunity to do a deeper dive with all of the incredible speakers that you're going to be meeting here today. So let me just give you a very quick summary of what we have in store for you and what's coming up on this wonderful journey of transformation and looking at the way you can change and transform your life in a really big way. One of the things clients often say to me, because I've been working and teaching and coaching online since 2005, clients will often say, is it really possible to change and transform your life when you're not there in person, sitting face to face? My answer to that is absolutely 100,000,000% yes. And the key thing I say is come with an open mind, come with an open heart, and come with a willingness to change and transform, and our wonderful speakers and teachers can then take it from there. So let me give you a sense of what we've got coming up. So we begin the journey today with Dr. Harold Koenig, who is going to take us on the journey on a relationship between religion, spirituality, and mental health. So I'm not going to say too much more about that, because you're going to find out in about 5 minutes for yourself. We're also today, for those of you who are here live, and I can see the chat is just going wild, we are going to hear from best-selling author and spiritual thought leader, Marianne Williamson. And one of the first times I remember seeing Marianne was on the Oprah Winfrey show, and Oprah called her, she said it was something like, Marianne is the original prayer giver, that for any situation in your life, Marianne can come up with something that will absolutely touch your heart and your soul. So you're going to be meeting Marianne here today. In part 2 of this free series, because this is completely free for the next 3 days, which is absolutely fantastic. So we have what I'm going to call the modern day spiritual messenger and the author of the groundbreaking book, Conversations with Millionaires, Neale Donald Walsch. I'm so looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to the deep dive Q&A that we're going to be doing next week. We're also going to hear from sound oracle and intuitive guide, May Lynn Moritz. I'm seriously, the power of sound. I've been using music therapeutically since 1975, and I know it's one of the things that got me through my childhood. And then in part 3, which will conclude the free series, you're going to hear from American classical jazz singer Jocelyn B. Smith, who sang the title song for the Disney movie The Lion King. I get goosebumps even just saying that. And then we're going to hear from Immaculée, who will speak about survival through faith. So we've got a lot to come in the next 3 days. We've got a lot to come in the deep dive. There'll be an invitation. We'll tell you all about that over the course of the weekend if you want to dive deeper in this subject. But for now, what I want to do is I want you to introduce you and give you a little flavor of Dr. Harold Koenig. So he's a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences. He's an associate professor of medicine and director for the Center for Spirituality, Theology and Health. So when I say we're going to be exploring and unpacking religion and mental health, I'm not joking. And today what we're looking at is the effects of prayer on a person's mental health and their emotional and behavioral health. We're looking at the effects of being thankful and how that can impact good health and stability in your relationships, as well as your personal life. We're also looking at how do you actually generate positive emotions? How does that impact your well-being? How does that impact your life and your level of satisfaction with regards to life? And looking at the real effects of what would happen if we could all forgive each other. And I know there's a piece where he talks about what would happen to some of the institutions if we were able to truly release and resolve and let go. So what I want to do now is, I think we're all ready, the chat, it looks like everyone is here. So what I'm now going to do is hand you over to Dr. Harold Koenig for our first session. looking at the impact on our mental health and really starting to begin and open up what is going to be an incredible journey. So, Harold, over to you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Harold Koenig, and I'm going to speak with you for a few minutes on the power of prayer, forgiveness, and gratitude. Let me tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm a physician. I'm a professor at Duke University Medical Center in Durham, North Carolina. I've been a psychiatrist for over 30 years, but I started out as a nurse and as a family physician, and then specialized in the area of geriatric medicine. And so I've got a wide background in healthcare, and in particular in mental health. So the power of prayer in terms of our health. I've spent most of my life, more than almost 40 years, conducting research on the effects of prayer on a person's mental, physical, and social and behavioral health. And what I found in those studies, which have been published in over 50 books and over 500 scientific articles, that prayer makes a real difference in a person's life. It helps them to cope with stress, with family problems, with healthcare issues. It really makes a difference. And one of the things that all religions emphasize is the importance of forgiveness, importance of being grateful for what one has. And there's a lot of research that backs that up, that can make a real difference in a person's health. Anybody who is married knows the importance of forgiveness. One has to be able to forgive one's spouse as well as one's children and one's colleagues in the workplace in order to maintain any sense of good health and stability in one's relationships. Forgiveness is such a powerful tool that people can use to really feel better, as is gratitude. Gratitude, being thankful for what one has, rather than focusing and obsessing on what one does not have, can also affect a person's mental health in many ways, particularly with regard to generating positive emotions, such as well-being, life satisfaction, a sense of happiness and fullness of life. When a person is grateful and is forgiving others, those emotions just kind of bubble up from deep inside. And you combine that with a strong religious faith, which reinforces the forgiveness and reinforces the gratitude. All of that just makes a mix that is good for your health. You know, I believe it was Carl Menninger who said that if people could forgive one another, that all of the mental institutions in the United States and around the world would have to be empty. That would be empty because there would be no one in there simply because of the negative effects that unforgiveness has on a person's mental health, particularly over time. And not only does it affect a person's mental health, but it also affects their physical health. People who are brooding over things that other people have done to them, resentments, those who are feeling, ungrateful, and, that it's never enough. Life is never enough. You can't have enough in order to be happy with this attitude of ungratefulness. Those individuals just don't do well physically. They get sick more often. They're more likely to get, infected. In a time like the coronavirus here, they're more likely to do poorly when they do develop illnesses, and they don't live as long. They die sooner because of the negative effects that lack of forgiveness and lack of gratitude have on a person's immune system and its ability to fight off diseases, and therefore, increases the likelihood of dying prematurely. So not only does religious faith, gratitude, and forgiveness enhance a person's mental health and well-being, it enhances their physical health and their longevity. So, what more can you ask in life but being happy, satisfied with life, and living long and living healthy? Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. This is going to be such a fascinating journey. Now, the next speaker that we are going to hear from is someone that I have been actively talking about for the past 20 years at least, and saw her years before that on the Oprah Winfrey Show, the wonderful, incredible Marianne Williamson. And I'm often talking to my clients about Marianne Williamson, and they often, sometimes, because depending on the field that you're in, you either heard of Marianne, you know exactly who she is, or you don't, and we'll talk about her bio in a few minutes. But one of the things I often say to people is, have you heard that piece entitled Our Deepest Fear, which is often attributed to the late Nelson Mandela, and people often say, oh yes, I've heard of that, I know exactly what that is. And then I will say, well, those words came from Marianne Williamson, which often surprises people because it is such a powerful piece. And what Marianne is going to be talking about today is going to be starting you on that journey of really, again, we're talking about putting all of this into practice. So before we get into that, let me just tell you a little bit about Marianne Williamson. So she is a best-selling author, and for me, I came across her work also as part of A Course in Miracles, which some of you may or may not have heard of. She's also a political activist. She did stand for the presidential run a few years ago, and she's also a long-time spiritual thought leader. She has been in the spiritual field for over 3 decades. She's written 14 books, 4 of which have been #1 New York Times bestsellers. And she has also written A Return to Love, and that's where I first saw her on the Oprah Winfrey Show, where she was talking about that. And one of the things that people often say about Marianne is that her words and her teaching and her writing, they are considered to be what you would call an anthem for our contemporary generation of seekers. So let me tell you a bit about what you're going to be hearing about with Marianne Williamson today. This is hot off the press. So she's going to talk about forgiveness, gratitude, and prayer. And she is going to be talking about why we are in this place, the space that we are in right now on this planet, because I don't need to tell you, even if you're not someone who regularly watches the press, I don't need to tell you some of the things that are going on in the world at the moment and the state that some aspects of the planet is in. She is also, and I think this is super important, particularly as we find ourselves, for us in the United Kingdom, we are still in the midst of lockdown. So she's going to be talking about how you can find inner peace in a changing world, because all of our structures have started to fall away. And we have had challenges in terms of our health, our wealth, our work, career, livelihood. And that's why this program is also super timely. If you've been struggling with any of those aspects, this will provide you with tools and strategies and techniques and processes to help you find more of a center of balance and alignment. Marianne, and this again is really important because there is so much division in the world right now. Even if we take something like lockdown, going out, the vaccine, not to vaccine, there is so much division in the world. So what you're going to hear in a few moments from Marianne Williamson is also about how to move out of fear and move into love. And she's also going to end with an explanation of why these skills are important, but and really kind of looking at the way that she teaches them, the way that she's going to impart this information, the way that you can start taking this on board for the beginning of this journey in preparation for the deeper dive into many of these aspects and the live Q&A. So for those of you who are here now, we're not doing Q&A today, we're not doing Q&A this weekend, but when we do the deep dive, that is coming. So as you're watching these wonderful inserts and videos and programs for the next 3 days, please also be having a think about what questions do you want to ask of our speakers, because you're going to have the opportunity to do that live once this part 1 introduction is concluded. So without further ado, I want to hand you over to the incredible, amazing, wonderful Marianne Williamson. Marianne, over to you.
The world in which we live today is filled with chaos, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension. And with the ego mind, all that we can think about is how we need to fix it. But we need to do more than fix what's wrong. We need to recognize the thought system that gave rise to that world to begin with. That's where people are today, realizing that all of those things that are wrong in the world are but symptoms, the cause of which is within our own consciousness. And the task of enlightenment, and the task, I think, of the survival of the human race, lies in our dismantling the thought system that gave rise to this world of chaos and fear. On the other side of it is a distinctly different possibility for the human race, an eternal reality of love that is the truth of who we are. And that's what we all want, is to love and to be loved. But we have set up for ourselves a world that is so counter to that, and almost feels like a prison that we're in that we can't get out of. Forgiveness and gratitude and prayer are 3 main tools of the journey of enlightenment. They are tools that enable us to dismantle a thought system based on fear and to accept instead a thought system based on love. In A Course in Miracles, it says that prayer is the medium of miracles, because miracles are shifts in perception from fear to love. And in practical terms, that means going from I'm blaming that person to I'm blessing that person. From what can I get out of this to what can I give to this. From focusing on people's guilt to focusing on people's innocence. From allowing ourselves to just give in to the worst aspects of our personalities to taking responsibility for our effect and for kindness and for encouragement and for gentleness and for peace. These are the kinds of personal shifts that we're making, and that shift itself is a miracle. So the prayer, the highest level of prayer, is the realignment of our own personal and personalities, self, with the truth of who we are or love. And when we do that, when our own personal energy shifts, this affects people around us, it affects what we attract, it affects what we repel, and it affects how much we can contribute to the healing of the world. The reason gratitude is so important is because it's a reminder to the mind, yeah, this happened. I mean, a lot of times people go, oh my God, this is so amazing that this happened. And then real quickly, the ego will come in and say, yeah, well, it would have happened anyway. I mean, it's not like a miracle or anything. And I've noticed in my own life how often I will minimize something, and it's a trick of the mind to get me to not show up for this awesome thing that has happened. In addition to that, of course, gratitude shown to other people. People appreciate being thanked when they have done something for us. And so it expands not only the love in our hearts, but it expands the possibilities for love and deeper connection between us and other people, really when we have the courtesy to say thank you. And then the last one, of course, is forgiveness, which is really the crux of everything. Because forgiveness is, the Course in Miracles defines it as selective remembering. In every single moment, we are responsible for what we focus on. Every moment we're choosing, is my heart going to be open or is my heart going to be closed? Am I going to be willing to give the person in front of me a break and know, yeah, they might have gotten it wrong, but I can focus on now, I can say my truth and then focus on now and be open? Or are you going to hold on to it in grievance and judgment and blame? And the more you understand how consciousness operates, the more you understand that when we make this choice for ourselves, there's a very real way in which we're making it for the entire world. So when we pray, we're hoping to heal not only our own hearts, but the whole world. When we show gratitude, we're healing not only our own hearts, but the whole world. And when we forgive, we're healing not only our own hearts, not only our own relationships, but we are affecting the tenor of the entire world. That's why these things are important. That's why we're all talking about them, and hopefully why we're all going to be practicing them more and more in the days to come.
Oh, I am so excited about this journey. So I just want to say thank you all for stopping in for the first part of this taster journey. Tomorrow we are hearing from Neil Donald Walsh, and we are hearing from Maylan Moritz. And it is going to be another incredible introduction to this pathway, this journey, and how you can bring these things into your daily life. So for those of you maybe who are just coming in a few minutes later, my invitation is, as you're watching the video presentations over the next 2 days, because we'll be here same time tomorrow and same time again on Saturday evening and Sunday evening, is to, as you're watching, as you're getting the first taste, as you're meeting the speakers and the teachers who will take you on this deeper journey, please be making a note of your questions so that if you're joining us next week, you can have those ready in terms of presenting those yourself. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. Over the course of this weekend, we will talk to you in a bit more detail about how you can join us on the longer journey and dive into many of these principles and practices, how you can understand this information on a much deeper level, and how you can implement it into your daily life, because this is life-changing. I would not be sitting here doing the things I've been doing for the past 20 years without the power of forgiveness, without the power of gratitude. For me, I use more spiritual prayer, so I'm absolutely looking forward to sitting down with these speakers and talking about organized religion and how that fits with prayer. I'm also really looking forward to breaking down these processes so that we put them into what I call bite-sized chunks that you can use in your own daily life to make an impact, to make a difference, and have the same deep transformation that people have been experiencing over the years, the millennia, the decades. So I really look forward to working with you on this journey. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you here same time tomorrow for part 2 of this wonderful free series. So until then, Marilyn Devonish, over and out. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.